Hey, what's up guys? ColbyCheeZe here with another game review for onrpg.com, and today I'm going to be going over Age of Empires Online, which was released not too long ago. It's a free-to-play RTS game that was created by EA, and it's kind of interesting because we haven't actually seen any of those. This is not something you see every day. You know, we've got a lot of free-to-play RPG games and beat-em-ups and things like that, but this is, to my knowledge anyways, like one of the first RTS games I've seen that have been released. Especially, it's cool that it's one of those games that we've all, played in the past. Age of Empires 1, 2, 3, all been really great games. So let's just take a look and see if they've stayed true to the old games or if they've tried to make some changes and kind of how the game's going to play out and things like that. Personally, I'm a huge fan of RTS games, and I was definitely a big fan of the old Age of Empires series. Right away, taking a look at the new Age of Empires Online, I really love the new art style. It's not like just, regular old graphic looking guys. They've actually taken sort of a cel-shaded look, more of a cartoony, and I think that this is probably one of the most aesthetically pleasing games I've seen in a really long time. It just looks beautiful in my personal opinion, and if you like that sort of art style, I think you'll definitely agree. They've done a really good job on that. So when you first start the game, you are told to choose from one of two different civilizations right now, and of course more will be unlocked later as they start to develop those. Right now you can play as the Greeks and also as the Egyptians. Each one kind of has their own unique units and things like that, but as you get into the game, you start off in what's called your Empire City, and this is kind of where you will conduct all of your operations, I guess you can say, from within the game. You're going to be picking up all of your quests here, and you'll be building up your Empire City as you kind of level up within the game. So yes, you do actually start at level 1 from your Empire City, and as you level up, you'll be able to add new buildings such as shops that you can buy items, and you can also equip those items to the units that you can create. You'll also be able to upgrade and expand the current technology that you will have available to you once you go on to missions and things like that. Another cool thing is that your Empire City will be visible by your friends as well. I kind of feel like they've taken somewhat of a Farmville or, like one of those Facebook game approaches to your Empire City, because you can go into your friends' towns and each day you can do a quest for them, which will net you some extra gold as well as your friend. So it would be beneficial to have tons of different friends who play this game who come and do the daily missions in your town for you, because that'll help everyone out to do that. As you level up, you can build different types of structures, so you can actually buy structures that will give you plans to make other buildings, and you can also make buildings that store items that you'll find throughout your quests and adventures, as well as you can create certain structures that will allow you to bring special units which will give you access to some really powerful, unique type of units within the game. Most of these are going to be only available to people who pay for the game, however. So that's another thing that I'll be talking about, as well as what you kind of get if you spend real money compared to what happens if you're just trying to play this game as a free-to-play model. First of all, I'd like to take a look at some of the gameplay and how it's looking. Time to sail the sea! Off into the ocean we go, sailing away where we stop no one knows. So first off, the gameplay feels really nice. I mean, it is, if you played any of the Age of Empires games before, it does feel quite similar. You're going to have your worker units, you run up, you chop the different trees, you've got your stone blocks, gold blocks, and of course you're going to have to farm for food, either by hunting or picking it from berry bushes or fishing in the water or creating a farm. So it's got all of the same elements that you would expect if you are a longtime fan of the Age of Empires genre or line of games. You'll be very familiar with this. Now there are some other kind of glaring mistakes with the game, however, that I didn't like, and I feel like it's really hurting the game. One of them is that it does feel kind of like it's really buggy. So for example, in half of the missions, there's some kind of issue where your units will not actually respond to your commands if there is another unit around that they want to attack. So let's say you try and issue a command for your unit to move in another location, the units they won't listen to you, they'll just automatically attack anything that's close by, even if it's like a farm and they're getting shot in the head with arrows from some guy over right next to the farm. They're going to attack the farm instead because it's closer. So it's really difficult to actually control your units properly in this game. Another problem is that they don't actually have any visible way to see the hotkeys for the different units. There are some hotkeys in the game that you can go into the options menu to play around with. However, that's really unwieldy, as most RTS games these days at least have they'll have like if there's a command for build a house, then it'll have like the H in parentheses, and you know that that's the hotkey for the house, or there's something like that. But in Age of Empires, it's kind of less, it's less obvious what your hotkeys are, and that's an important thing in, I believe, any RTS game, is to have a really defined set of hotkeys that are really visible and easy to use. Other than when that was an issue, the game did actually seem pretty fun. The only other problem I had is that I felt that it was really slow moving along because of the fact that this is an RTS game. As you start at level 1, I mean, you only have pretty much one unit that you can build, and you have to literally go through and level up through the different ages and train different types of units to build just in order to have those available to you. And I thought that this was not as fun. I mean, I can understand this in like an RPG game where you learn new abilities as you level up. However, in an RTS game, it really, I feel, kind of limits the gameplay to only have a very small amount of units you can build, at least in the early levels. So being a veteran of Age of Empires, I was just like, man, I really want to build some nicer units, especially when you get into PvP. So let's kind of talk about the PvP, because that's another very huge issue that I found in the game as well. So I talked about earlier, you can actually get items that are equipped to your units, and that is something that, while it's kind of cool, it also has a huge problem in Age of Empires Online, because there are some unique items which are very much way more powerful than the items you would be able to use if you actually didn't pay for the game. So the people who pay real money are going to be just light years stronger than people who don't spend money on the game. Not only that, but people who pay actual money in the game, they can build extremely powerful units that someone who does not pay cannot build. So they may have some unit that can take on like 5 or 10 of your guys and just one of them, and then that's going to be a huge significant advantage in PvP. And I really thought this was just a big mistake on EA's part in their design of the game, to make an RTS game pay for power rather than pay for aesthetics and things like that. So that pretty much makes the PvP almost unplayable. I remember I was trying out a PvP match, and I think the guy was maybe a few levels higher than me, so he was able to build like healing units and other stuff, and I was only able to build maybe like a archer and spearman, and I just got completely ran over. Even though I kind of won in the early game, I destroyed some of his workers and I was building a lot of units. It's just that he had stronger units than me, and there's nothing I can do about it. That's a pretty big mistake on the game's part. I feel that all they would really need to do is normalize out the items so that anybody can equip the same items. But for example, maybe you just need to acquire a certain amount of points to be able to equip that item, and perhaps paying for the game would potentially, allow you to get boosts on how fast you can acquire those points or something like that. I think that would make it a lot more fair and a lot better of a game to play, rather than in the current state, it's just, hey, I spent more money on the game, so I automatically win and there's nothing you can do about it. I think the game has great potential for success, and it was a whole lot of fun to actually play while I did play through it. It's just that there's a few mistakes that make me really disappointed in the series altogether, and I probably won't continue playing it. I definitely recommend that you check it out if you do enjoy the Age of Empires series, because it is kind of fun to go in there and you can still level up and do the single player missions and things like that. But if you are a big fan of multiplayer, then this is probably not the game for you. Anyways, guys, if you want to learn more about the game, be sure to check out onrpg.com for more information. And if you want to see more reviews like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel. This is ColbyCheeZe, guys. Peace out.